Our parents are the superheroes. We watched our parents grind and grind and grind and work for every single thing that they had.
I guess the drive comes from seeing both of them work.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of More Than a Sale, where it's not just about the successes, it's about the failures, the heartbreaks, the setbacks to get to where you are today. And today I have
Bhandari brother.
Changed the landscape of the pre-construction industry, has a very inspirational stories behind, before building a very successful website, have done $1 billion on sales. Join how they did it.
The Bhandari brothers are going to share some insights on how they did it. Welcome to More Than a Sale.
Thanks, Ron. Thank you. Like, we learned not just how to run the business better, but just how to be better. I advise every single real estate to find your niche as soon as humanly possible.
Play the long game. You are building a business. Stay focused. Head down, keep going. Doesn't matter. You will be better than them one day.
Gentlemen, I've had the pleasure of knowing you for almost, I think close to 10 years now, knowing you in the industry. And I remember when I first entered the real estate industry, TalkCondo was that one platform for myself to source material, to source information for anything pre-construction related. And you gentlemen, not only have you built a successful business, but you've made an efficient business, you've made a proficient business, and you've made a lot of money doing it. You have sold a lot of pre-construction doing it. I think almost all of what Toronto is today with the buildings that have existed or that are getting completed, majority of it, you guys have been a part of all their projects. Am I right when I say that?
We got into pre-construction pretty early.
Yeah.
Relatively early.
Yeah.
So, I've watched the skyline grow, not just downtown, but in Mississauga and Vaughan and all these places. So we started selling pre-construction in 2010.
Wow.
So we were not the first batch of people, but we were in that sort of
Beginning stage.
as it was starting to grow and get this platinum group figured out. I think we were one of the very, very first people in that circle.
I'm excited for this conversation because there's so much to digest, and hopefully we can all fit it into one episode, because you guys are the OG platinums that exist, and platinums were created from a concept of individuals like yourself, and now these days everybody seems to be a platinum, but when we talk about OG platinums, this is where it came from. So let's backtrack a little bit for our audience that's listening and for our viewers that are watching. First off, who is TalkCondo, what is TalkCondo, and who is Amit and Roy Bhandari? Let's break it down for us, and then we're going to dive deep.
So we got into real estate in 2007.
Yeah.
I got my license while I was still in university, while I was in between years, in the summer between third and fourth year. So I had my license, and we were resale agents from 2007 to 2010. So we did it for 2.5-3 years. That part of sort of the journey of ours was the real struggle for us.
Yeah.
It was a real challenge for us.
Well, we faced the financial crisis.
2008 obviously happened in the middle there. And then once we started the pre-construction stuff, there was, for us, the big sort of light bulb moment that happened at that point. TalkCondo couldn't have existed without the stuff that came before. And then TalkCondo, when it started in 2011, it originally started as a blog, because back in 2011, that's what everyone was doing. Everyone was blogging. So the name TalkCondo was because we were talking about condos. We were blogging about condos. The intention was to do a podcast and videos and talk about condos.
Nice.
And that was what TalkCondo was from day one. It was us just saying, this is what we think is interesting about this condo versus this condo versus this condo. And then obviously it's evolved and evolved and evolved. I say we're at version 7 or 8 of TalkCondo now. It's completely different than what it started.
Yeah.
That's sort of where we started. That's where sort of the origins came from. So
What's the age difference between both of you?
I'm 2.5 years older than him.
Oh, you're 2.5 years. You know what's funny? I always thought he was the older one.
I get that a lot.
Does that happen a lot? Why is it? Why is that?
I don't know.
I'm the chatty one. People hear me speak. And
How's it like working as brothers? I'm going to ask you first, Amit. What's it like working with Roy?
Fine, honestly. Yeah. I think a lot of people have asked this question, and I think it all boils down to knowing what he's good at and knowing what I'm good at, and how that meshes together. So I'm more of the techie sort of person. That's my background. I have a degree in IT. He's the marketing degree holder. And I think those two work really, really good. And anytime we've had a disagreement, it's not like exploded into anything big.
Yeah.
It's all been settled very, very quickly. And it's been a phenomenal working relationship, honestly. I couldn't think of a better partner.
Was it one of you that got your real estate license first, and then the other one followed? So you started off with
So the story is like we completely tripped into real estate.
Okay.
Like, this was not a planned thing. I told you I got my license between third and fourth year of university. The reason I got my license to begin with was my dad was in doing some flips on his own, and he was trying to do the license. But my dad, the way he grew up, he didn't get to finish school. He had to drop out pretty early, and he couldn't pass the test. He tried phase 1 3 times, and he couldn't do it. But he really wanted the license to get access to the information. So I effectively said, look, Dad, I'll get the license. I'll do the tests. For me, it's like, as long as I can squeeze them in the summer, I'll do the tests, and then I'll get my license, then you can have the access through me. And that's why I got my license. I had no intention of leaving university and being a real estate agent.
I needed a reason to leave the corporate world.
Yeah. So I got my license, and then shortly after,
I left IBM. I used to work for IBM.
Yeah.
I left it because I couldn't stand it. And he said, look, let's do something. I was like, cool. All right, let's go for it.
Now, you guys have sold well over $1 billion worth of real estate. Let's go back in time.
Yeah.
And for our audience that's listening and our viewers that are watching, what was the pre-construction industry like in the early 2010s? And what was the dynamic? How was allocation given? You know, what was the sentiment around pre-construction and condos in general? You know, now everybody's pinching themselves. I wish I bought a condo for $200,000. I wish I bought a downtown condo for, $300,000. So break it down for me in play by play of what it was like to be an agent during that time of the biggest condo boom of all time.
So when we started in 2010, the first condo project that we sold was DNA 3. It was King and Shaw, Riz Danji, Shannon Glass.
Shout out to them, Rad Marketing.
Best. And that project at the time was $500 a square foot. When we got involved, without knowing what we know now and going back then, we got involved probably in the VIP or the second or third launch of the project. They had already gone through the
and that was purely by accident too.
Completely by accident, but that's the whole story.
A colleague at IBM, a former colleague at IBM told me about it.
Got it.
And we're like, okay, we need to look into this.
So then that day for DNA 3, our whole pitch was at the time, which is a little bit different now, but this is priced at the same PSF as DNA 1 and 2 that you could buy across the road at resale. We were so analytical back then. Like, we broke it down to here's what the expected appreciation rate is based on the last 5 years of these buildings. We did a ton of research. We were really going into that side of the business and selling it as an investment.
Which is, and just to jump in there, which is also the big reason why resale never jived with us. Because we did not understand the whole touchy-feely, this is the kitchen cabinet, and we never got on with that. So this is why we really, really like, okay, this is what we want to do.
Right.
Yeah, so we went to, so DNA 3, it wasn't the blowout sale that we have today, but it was a lot more of taking people in, showing them around, understanding the project, a lot more of that going on back in 2010. I think the next 12 months, there was a little bit of a shift where things did change. And I remember that first year, after the DNA initial success that we had, so the story goes, up until the point that we had the DNA sale, for 3 years, we did negligible amount of deals in the resale world. In that first weekend of DNA, of the VIP sale, we did, I think the number ended up at 18 deals.
Wow.
On Saturday and Sunday.
Got it.
Immediately, we shut off all resale. We said, I think we had 2 or 3 clients that we had to finish up. We finished those up and never touched a single resale deal ever since.
Right.
We went all in on pre-con. And then after the initial sort of DNA batch of deals, it took us about a year of doing nothing, no more deals, a few here, a few there. But that's really where we spent that time building everything up.
Break down the sales process for me. That's what I really want to dive a little bit deep down into, because the sales process now, and even before we started shooting this episode, we were talking about how easy it is to submit a worksheet, to get a unit allocated, and the flow of the business happening now, and the pandemic had a big hand to play at this as well, versus what it was like traditionally. I want to talk to me about the standing in lines. Talk to me about the lineups that would form around the city block and people and the unit allocation construction and the sales processes and who would get a unit and who wouldn't get a unit. And
I got a couple stories here.
Yeah.
I got a couple stories. I'm going to do the DNA story.
Okay.
And then I'm going to do the pace story.
Okay.
They're the two stories, okay?
Sounds good.
And then the exhibit story.
the
They're all
exhibit
three
story.
stories. There's three stories.
And they're all
tied
aligned.
together.
They're all
tied
There's
together.
the lamb one as well too.
Riz Danji loves his lineups. He loves his raffle tickets. Like, so what we did is on the Wednesday, he said, here's the VIP event. There's going to be a sale going on Saturday.
Got it.
He did like a raffle and everybody got a number.
Okay.
You're number one. So on Saturday, you're going to be number one in line. You're going to be number two. You're going to be three, and so on and so forth.
To make it a fair process.
Fair process.
Got it.
I was number 81.
Okay.
I was number 81 in line.
You've still got that ticket.
I got the ticket. I still have that ticket laminated in my office. I keep it at my side table. So on that day, it was, they held true. You would come in, number one would go in, take his clients in, number two would take his clients in, and then they would have a board with all the units and stickers of what was sold and what was available. So on that first day, we would go in, we would say, oh, we want unit 330. We would go to the back, we would say, we want this unit. A sticker comes out, goes on the board. This one is sold. And then they're doing the deal in real time and signing the deal, giving the checks. And that's how that process worked for DNA. I've never done that process ever again, except for that one project. So, so that was a unique experience. We'd never done anything like that. But it was about going in, understanding the product and saying, okay, these are the units that we like. Go after this block, go after this block. If this one's sold, go after this block. And taking the clients through that process. So there was no allocation per se. It was who had the unit and could take the unit. Fast forward a year, and this is where the pace in the exhibit situation. Actually, before that, I do want to touch on the Brad Lamb story. So we were lining up for, I think the project was King Charlotte.
King Charlotte, it was
King Charlotte. So we lined up all night. It was cold. We had the blankets. We had the coats. There was a couple of other now platinum agents also in the line with us. Yeah. When they opened the doors in the morning, everything was sold. Everything was already gone. We then realized,
what the hell's going on?
That's when we realized, oh, we're not. There's a whole group ahead of us.
Yeah.
So that was the first sort of thing in my brain that there's something going off that we don't understand here.
Yeah.
Then we fast forward to Pace Condos. Pace Condos and Exhibit Condos. Those two goes together.
Pace was Great Golf, I think, right?
Great Golf. Yeah. So Pace Condos was the first condo project that
awesome marketing strategy, by the way. Anyways, carry on.
Pace Condos was the first condo project that we did following the launch of TalkCondo.
Got it.
So based on the interest that we generated from TalkCondo, we had gotten 4 Pace Condos, a dozen or so worksheets.
Sure.
We submitted them. This is Baker. We submitted them and got 0 units. And we're like, that's not good.
Yeah, that's not good.
So we're trying to understand what's going on. But at the same time, Exhibit launched at Avenue and Bloor.
Okay.
Same thing. We had 8 worksheets. We submitted them and 0 units. And I'm sat at the sales office 3-4 hours a day, and it was Nikki Rad at the sales office, and I'm bugging. I'm saying, "Where's my units? Where's my units?" She's saying, "They're coming. Wait. I'm there 3-4 hours every day." So I'm sat here, and over here is another shout out, our friends Jolly and Rai Hansrani.
Yeah.
And I'm there every day, and they're there every day, and they come up to me and say, "What's going on? You here every day? What's up?" So I said, "I've been here because I'm waiting for my units. I can't get anything." And Rai said to me, "What do you need?" I said, "I need this 2-bedroom, this one, and done." He said, "Give me 5 minutes." He walked into the back. 5 minutes later, he said, "Here's your 2-bedroom. Here's your one bedroom and den." I was like, "What is happening here?"
Yeah, you're like, what just happened? Yeah.
What is this black magic? What's going on?
Yeah.
It was then that it really clicked that we are
level 2.
phase 1 agents who know what they're doing. We're like not even phase 2. We're like down here. We don't know what's going on. We're figuring it out as we go.
Yeah.
That was a big switch for us. Like at that point, then it was at sort of more of the allocation.
Where was that table with the Zia's pile of?
That was Tableau.
Oh,
we got so many stories, man. Back in the day, we were signing Tableau.
Another shout out, Zia, amazing guy.
We're signing Tableau condos, huge demand project in the past. And again, we're walking in with our 1 or 2 deals, and we go to the back table, and he's here with a pile like this big,
separate section,
his own section. I'm like, yeah, okay, there's something going off here that
VIP.
Yeah, that we don't quite understand.
Palladium level.
But we're learning it as we go. Like when we decided we were going all in on pre-construction, we knew 1% of what we needed to know, but we knew something was there.
So for our audience and our viewers that are watching, basically the concept of platinum agents is first access, and that's why when people say, hey, we get first access, it means that right before it's introduced to the general public or it's introduced to the general real estate population, there are individuals that predominantly have relationships with builders and developers where through past sales, through their knowledge, through their experience and expertise, they're able to get first dibs and first access. And that way it ensures success for everybody, because pre-construction is a field that it seems easy to understand, but sometimes it's not. There's a lot of technicalities involved. There's a proper way of explanation, because really what you're doing is you're buying a slot for the future.
Yeah.
You know, and it's all future projections, and there's ebbs and flows, right? We've seen good markets, we've seen bad markets, and there's interesting time frames. So now, how did this concept of platinum agents and who would get access, and how did it come into be? Because it seems like even at that time, around 2010, 2011, it seemed that the platinum access kind of went back a little bit more further back.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I don't think we were the first group. There was definitely a group ahead of us.
Yeah.
And that, the first, we started in 2010. I think that the real OG guys were sort of in that 2006, 2007, L Tower, One Bloor, that group of...
When the condo boom was like first taking off and starting off altogether. Yeah. And so moving forward into the conversation, now you start figuring things out. How do you fight for your spot on the platinum list? Because there was a time like I had to fight for mine, and you do this, and I had to do this by selling the B sites, the C sites, the not so popular sites, because when a hot site would come, you're talking about like 2-day sellout, 3-day sellout, 4-day sellout. And if you have 10, 15 people, you're getting maybe 2 units or 1 unit at max, and all your 8, 9, 10 clients are getting off. And maybe some of the top agents are, or the platinum agents are taking majority of the unit allocation. Because if you get a good demand, imagine the demand that they're probably getting as well. So talk to me a little bit about that. So how did you finally get on that platinum list?
It's a lot of...
Weird how it evolved, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you got to get the backing from, like for us, one of the early guys that really gave us a run and said, okay, you can have top table list was Brian Brown and Brandon Frankfurt at Lifetime.
Wow,
they were one of the first guys, because we always showed up to their projects, always talked about their projects online. We always talked about how much we enjoyed working with Lifetime.
And it was shout out actually Matt Young.
Matt Young as well was part of that conversation as well, back when he was starting out, because there was a lot of, we call it the Twitter group, but he was one of the Twitter guys, and we would engage with him on Twitter back in the day, and he was the one who...
He was a young guy too at the time.
Oh, yeah.
He was very young at the time.
Yeah. And he was working for Lifetime at the time, and he apparently was the one that put the word in to give us the direct allocation.
For index.
And that one really sort of... But and people look at the platinum guys right now, and it's easy, it's this, it's that. So many of them like got kicked in the teeth so many times in the early days. Like there was no way of succeeding without... Like I know so many agents that tried to do what I did in the beginning, but just fell off. They didn't have the stamina to keep going, keep getting rejected to eventually succeed. Like there was so many projects that we had that exact same situation, because we weren't smart enough to go to the B and C sites. We only wanted the A sites. So we had to get beat and get told no, and find units from here, find units from there.
The worst thing for me was when they look at you, they smile at you, they pat you on the back. Don't worry, it's coming. Or you're gonna get something. And then you're just like, this person's signing, that person's signing. Your client is calling you, hey, how come my friend just got a unit? How come you don't have a unit? And you're just sitting there and you're just like dumbfounded, like what's going on? And then you go back and you talk to the sales team. Don't worry, we're gonna take care of you. You're getting that nice little pat, and you're like, I don't know what's going on. Am I being taken for a run right now? The
other thing that comes to mind was we're talking about the B and C sites. What you did the grunt work. We were actually visited by another shout out, Jeff Clark. He said, come sell the B and C sites. This is where, there's a lot of opportunity there. And no, we only want the A sites.
Yeah.
So stupid.
When we talk about the greater Toronto area growth of pre-construction, because we saw a predominant increase of sales in the 905. Yeah. I think at one point the 905 sales were far greater than the 416 sales. Yeah. I forget that period, but it's there in the stat list. I think when 416 started to get a little bit more pricier, the 905 was like, look, we're only 30 minutes away or 25 minutes away, but look, we're priced significantly less. So I think maybe this was a driving force where the 416 was really popping off, and the 905. So you got the 905 was the B side, Mississauga side, or like or Markham side or anything like that. So you got to go push those sides before you can come back to the 416. Look, moving forward in the conversation, what I want to ask you is that when we talk about sales and we talk about the creation and the business aspect of things, there was a high ride of sales in pre-construction, and when you're there, the timing is really, really predominant. But what I find is what you did with TalkCondo, because there, I call it during that time when Facebook was taking off, Instagram got introduced a little bit later on, the Twitter, what we're talking about, all these conversations were being had. We also call it the tech boom, if you may say so, in the social media. What were the ways of advertisement during your time compared to where we are now? What would you say? How were you finding these people? Was it word of mouth? Was it more magazines? Was it more newspapers? What would you say?
I think we're in such a unique position because if not 100%, like 95% of our business comes through TalkCondo.com.
It's 100%.
Yeah. It's all we don't do magazines. We don't do paid ads. We don't do
even at the time. I'm talking about
even
that
at the time. Even at the time. So even at the beginning. So minute one went all in on TalkCondo.com. So everything that we did was completely organic. Any money that we spent on TalkCondo was not on marketing or AdWords. It was always on the development of TalkCondo.com.
It was back into the business.
Going back to the business and making the website better. That was always
and that was a natural realization that you had, or was there an aha moment? It just made sense.
It just made sense
because you saw all your results coming from one place.
Correct. Yeah. So, but that evolved in terms of what that looked like. Because at the beginning it was blogging and storytelling and
even before TalkCondo was created, it used to be AmitandRoy.com. Horrible. It is what it is. But even then, back then, we would do a lot of analysis, analytical writing, and then we shifted that over to TalkCondo. And all of the leads, I guess they were all looking for the same thing. We had the right keywords, we had the right analysis, we had the information that people were looking for. Because back then, I don't think there was any other reason. I mean, there was a couple of phenomenal websites. There weren't many that did what we did. And so I think a lot of the audience that we attracted liked the information that we had and trusted us because of it.
Is the information that people want to see. Now, every agent provides the floor plans, the brochure, the price list, or any other information provided by the sales and marketing companies. Mm-hmm. What was so unique about the information that you provided? What was the information you provided? And what do you think now the consumer wants to know when purchasing or deciding to buy pre-construction?
Quick question. So I think there's a different answer from when we started. Okay. And obviously a very different answer today.
Yeah.
When we started, when we were blogging, like the kind of analysis that I would do if whatever.
We would have tables.
It would be Tableau Condos is launching. The amount of effort that I would put into that blog post is huge. Like I'm going into, here's Tableau Condos. I'm looking at the building to the south, the resale building to the south, and I'm analyzing the appreciation rate of this building. Yep. And how am I doing that? I'm going into MLS. I'm looking at same unit that has repeat sales. So unit 1802 sold in 2004 for this price and 2008 for this price. It grew 100,000 at a rate of 4% a year.
Yeah.
And I did that, and pulled it. And in some buildings I'd have 5 data points. In some buildings I'd have 50 data points. I would put all this stuff together, and I'm telling a story that if you want to buy Tableau Condos, here's the reason. It's going to appreciation rate that took place. Here's relative to a building over here, which is on the King East side. This one only appreciated at 4%. I'm telling a story with the data.
On top of that as well, there was the PSF analysis as well.
Price per square. Nobody was doing this at that time. Nobody was doing this.
Average PSF comparative to this launch, that launch. How well did that do?
Yeah. So people weren't coming to me at that point for, can I get the price list and brochure? They were coming to me and saying, should I buy this one or should I buy that one?
Yeah.
Nobody was having that conversation. Any other agents weren't having that conversation, as far as I know, to the level that we were doing. So that's sort of where that started then. Now today, what are people looking for? I think there's so many projects. I mean, if anybody can get a price list, anybody can get a brochure. It's having an agent who understands the landscape, understands the projects. Like I think today more than ever before, ever before, you have to know your product. If you're selling condos in Hamilton, you need to know every single project that's for sale in Hamilton. You need to know every single builder, what they've done, what is the price what is the price per square foot, how does the 1 bedroom in this building compare to the 1 bedroom? You have to know your stuff. It's not about here's a price list, here's a brochure, here's a floor plan. It's here's the stuff, but I like this one because of X, Y, and Z reason. You have to know it, but you can only answer that question, I like this because of X, Y, and Z reason, if you have all that data in your head about what all the projects are. I think that's the difference. I think it's being able to interpret the data and tell and come up with solutions for clients.
have people try to copy your model, have people try to copy the TalkCondo website, and again, for our audience and our viewers, this is one of the most detailed platforms to get information about pre-construction. And whether it's PSF, even going back in time to old pre-construction condos, I mean, it's years and years and years of data scraping that's there in this website. Talk to me a little bit about that. Like, how is this information put together? What kind of data points are you guys looking at and considering? What is the focus of the data points? What's the story that's being told from these from the listing pages that you have of these pre-construction condos on the website? Kind of break it down for our audience and our viewers.
Over the years, there's been copycats.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think.
And have they failed? And have they succeeded?
Yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think again, what when you say copycats, like I'm looking.
We've actually had a couple of incidents where they've literally taken the entire website, and some backlinks are still linking back to our website to that extent.
Okay.
Legal notices, yada yada. Like there has been incidents.
Okay, so you send out legal notices at that point in time.
We've had to.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I mean, in terms of analysis as well, I think I want to do another shout out. Andrew Lafleur.
Yeah.
He's another phenomenal agent, realtor, colleague, human being. He was also one of those individuals in those days that also did similar kind of analysis.
You're absolutely right. I remember. True Condos. Yeah.
Yeah. TrueCondos.com. And he's very much like that as well. The way that he thinks,
Yeah,
he's very analytical.
Yeah. Great person to have a conversation with.
Phenomenal. And so him, us, we were very, very heavily focused on the sort of educational piece of it. People over the years, I'm sure there've been a lot of people over the years that have come and tried to do what we do. You need to have a lot of patience for it. You need to have the patience, the know-how, the consistency to be able to do this time and time and time again. Even before the even before the pre-con stuff, we would do this kind of analysis even in resale. We would look at like repeat sales and try to calculate, appreciation figures of specific pockets of neighborhoods around school zones and things like that. We've moved on from there completely, but it's something that we've just carried forward because it makes sense. If we're investing in something, we want to know this kind of information. Now, you touch on the kind of information, the level and depth of information. You have to know the PSF. You have to know building heights. You have to know price ranges. You have to know what else? What else do you have to know?
I mean, look, the way I think about. So when we started TalkCondo, we could, I used to have a little notepad. Yeah. And anytime there was a building that came up, I put it on my notepad. It's Bisha, it's Lifetime Developments, it's this, it's that, it's that. And there would be maybe 10 data points on a project. And that would get then added to the website. Over time, we started at, having 20 projects and then 50 projects. And now where we've gotten to is we want to be absolutely comprehensive. That's the word I always use, comprehensive. It has to have every single project. It has to have every single data point that is available to us for this project, because only then you can have a complete picture. So now I go to a project like former condos. I know the basic stuff, the tier one stuff, the easy stuff that I expect everybody to have. I want to know where it is, who's the developer, who's the architect, who's the sales and marketing company. Then I want to know pricing wise. I want to know what the pricing is today. I want to know what the pricing was yesterday. I want to know when they increased prices.
Deposits.
I want to know the deposit structure. I want to know the maintenance fees. This is still easy stuff. Then I want to know how many elevator shafts, how long do people have to wait to get an elevator. I want to know how many underground levels, how many parking spots are available.
Lockers.
So why am I saying this? So I'm saying this because when I look at TalkCondo now as a set of data, I don't think anybody can touch us. I think we have the absolute best data set for projects, floor plans, and then only then, once we've got that data, can we really start to do interesting things with it. And that's where we're at today. I think we've got the data. The next evolution now is telling stories with that data.
I find that sometimes buyers don't know what they don't know, and they rely on expert advice from agents like yourself and other individuals to guide them on certain things. It's so interesting that you mentioned elevator shafts and, where the lockers are located and where the garbage dump of the garbage disposal
Sure, yeah.
disposal is on the floor as well. And some buyers know that have lived in condos and lived in buildings. And what's interesting is a lot of people that were selling condos never probably lived in a condo themselves ever. So a lot of their clients also were just investors, and it was very investor focused or oriented. And I find that things have changed now where a lot of people are trying to live in condos and buildings. But I find that a lot of buildings are not designed for end user. I think it's more for like short term, okay, live for a year, 2 years, and that's it. And then just to build a bare minimum in a and that's when a developer is so passionate about, look, we got this in a building, we got that in a building. It shows that it's everything is imagined for someone to live, work, and play and have everything that you need. You know, what do we call it? Winston Chen calls it a home in the sky. You know?
Yep.
So what I want to ask you is where do you find the disconnect between an agent and a buyer, and where do you find that buyers should be looking at the most important data point or most important thing to consider in a condo building for a buyer as well? What would you say? Amit, I'll start with you, and maybe Roy, you can chime in.
I think the way to answer this is how I would look when I'm purchasing. So the way I would look at it is I would... so many layers to this. This is a tough question, Ron. This is a very tough question because you have to come at it from a mindset of, am I investing in this building or am I living in this building? Now, the buildings that you talk about where there's quick turnaround, as an investor, that's fine by me because I can bump up my rents, right? So that, from an investment standpoint, that makes a lot of sense. But now if I'm looking at it from the perspective, if I'm buying to live in, then I will look at the amenities. I will look at access to transit. I will look at access to grocery stores. I will look at distance to schools, the quality of schools. I will look at how tall the building is personally, how high are the ceilings. So there's different metrics for different buyers. So it's not one fit all. Because it depends. The answer is it depends. Is my answer
based on the needs and requirement.
Yep.
Let me ask you this. I've had this discussion with a few of my colleagues and friends, and now that we're sitting all together, do you still think there is a future of condos in the GTA or in Toronto?
100%.
I think so too.
The future is, I mean, we need more homes, right? And there's only so much land, and if you want to live in the core areas, condo is the only option. You can't build detached homes at Young and Bloor. It doesn't exist. If you want to live downtown, it has to be condo. What's going to happen is the future how it was 5 years ago? Probably not. It's going to be different. It's pricing has to get realigned to resale pricing, or at least within certain realms. Or builders have to start thinking of ways where they can bring the prices down. Is the other way. I don't know what that looks like. But as we start to see new land prices trading, land prices are coming down, building prices are coming down, that's going to filter into the...
When I talk to our builder friends, I always, the answers I always get is equivalent to the Spider-Man memes. You know, one person pointing a finger here, the other person pointing a finger here, and the other person pointing a finger. It's like, who do you blame at? Is the city to blame? Is our taxes to blame? Is the cost of construction to blame?
All of the above.
All of the above. You know, it's a combination of things. I
think the other thing that you have to point out too is just speaking from an urban geographic perspective, is the way that Toronto is growing and expanding is, I don't want to say naturally, but if you point to all the cities across the globe, that's the way that they've expanded. They've grown out from a central point outwards. And primarily it's been condominium. It's not been housing. And low rise.
And can we see TalkCondo possibly in the US or anywhere else in the world? Could this be a global?
We are trying. Yeah, we are absolutely trying to expand into other markets. We are now expanding outside of the GTA in a big way. We're tracking Calgary, we're tracking BC, we're tracking Montreal, we're tracking the major markets in Canada. We do want to grow into the other markets. But for now, Canada is absolutely the
GTA, focus. the Toronto area is the biggest focus, and the country of Canada.
I mean, Toronto is the biggest focus because it's the most activity.
Yeah, most active. Yeah.
I totally agree with you. And now you've launched a pro version of it as well. And what prompted you to launch a pro version? Because this data was sort of the secret recipe to your sales and the secret recipe to, you know, and when we chat about it, a lot of our platinum agents, so it's all marketing heavy. Like we dump loads and loads of cash into Google ads, into Facebook ads, into Instagram ads, and to generate leads so we can follow up on these leads. But you guys, when I talk to you, Roy, you tell me you're like, you barely spend any money on marketing because it's such an organic way of the lead flow of the way it's coming. So what prompted you to sort of, okay, you know what? Here's a secret recipe. Here's what we do, and here's how it works.
The industry prompted us.
That's the answer. That is the answer. So we've ran TalkCondo for a long time, and just over the years, we would go to events, and builders, marketing companies, guys like yourself, other agents, they tell us we're now using TalkCondo versus other sites to get our information. If I need information on a project, I'm at TalkCondo. And I'm hearing this from not just random people, but some of the biggest names, names in the industry. So we're like, we must be doing something right here. And at the time, for a long time, we were only showing 40%, 50% of our information. All the good stuff was hidden. We basically decided, if we're doing something this well, we added the layer of pro on top, and we basically unlocked everything.
There's a line from the Batman: if you're good at something, don't do it for free. There you go.
I like it. Roy, let me ask you this. Let's shift the focus on our conversation a little bit, because I got the Bhandari brothers here with me. You guys are very private individuals. Not many people know, a lot about you. And so I kind of want to share this with our audience and our viewers. Talk to me a little bit about who's been a great influence in your life. Who are some important people that have had a significant impact in your learning to get you to where you are today? Individuals that you've learned from and that you've watched, supporting characters. And I find our life is full of superheroes and villains, and we're somewhere along the line till we become a superhero ourselves. So Roy, I'll start with you.
I suspect my answer is going to be the same as his, but our parents are the superheroes, right? We've since the time,
and grandma as well,
and grandma,
late grandmother.
Since the time we were babies, we watched our parents grind and work for every single thing that they had. And we watched it, and my dad would work from 8 a.m. He would work till 10 p.m., 11 p.m. every single day. We never saw I didn't see my dad for a long time because he was working to put food on the table, put roof over our head.
There was a period of time, actually, and you may have been very, very young, but there was a period of time where our dad, together with my mom, my dad would continue. He used to work at a factory, Raleigh, the bikes, Raleigh, in Nottingham. So we were born and brought up in UK, obviously. But we were born in Nottingham, and he used to work at the factory, Raleigh. And so there was a period of time when we were very young where he would work at the factory and we would be running the shop. So this is where, I guess the drive comes from, seeing both of them work.
Yeah, that's all we knew when we were kids. All we knew was their work ethic. So I think that had to have played a role. We see us two here. My younger brother, he's the smart one of the family. He's way ahead of us. And for us, where we grew up in England, we grew up in a tiny village, 4,000 people. That's all it was. And we look at ourselves and what was going off in that house that we've all been able to come out with some level of success. And there was something there. I think just having that work ethic drilled into us from minute one, I will outwork anybody in the room.
And what drives you to do that? What's your driving factor?
I don't know. We're all very ambitious. We know what it, like I said, we know what it was like without the work ethic. And I just always,
I think it's also to do with the environment that we grew up in as well. The reality is, so we grew up in, like I said, it was a very small town, not much going on. And the reality is when you're growing up in the UK, in England, in the 80s, there was a lot of racism we felt. We faced a lot of racism. Parents faced it with their business, a lot of incidents of drunken behavior, stuff like that. There was a lot of stuff that we saw. And I think parents grinding whilst facing that also plays a part of it. I think there's there is a spark.
So when a situation occurs, what would be the teaching of your father or your mother to you when you're feeling the brunt of not being accepted solely based off how you look, your color?
Ron, keep going. Head down, keep going. Doesn't matter. Keep going. That's what they did. That's what they did. That's what our grandparents did when they moved from India. Growing up when they were around in the 70s and 80s. If you look at UK, England history, 80s wasn't the best time. And then especially when you're an immigrant family, it was especially hard. So I think that stuff, but the fact that they kept going despite that is what's really, I think that's a big part of it. I really do.
Have you encountered a situation yourself?
Lots.
Tell me.
Oh, there's so many.
What's one that like?
Oh. Oh no.
He said he didn't want to get into this stuff. He did actually say that. But
growing up was rough. Very, very rough. He tended to ignore it, but I tell him I don't know what it is. I think I may have felt it a lot more than you, faced it a lot more than you, and I don't know the reason why. So many instances. Roundhouse kick to the face.
Wow.
No joke. I was telling him that, yeah, stuff like that would happen. There would be so many.
Just for no reason.
You're brown.
You know, we can all
you have to
joke.
understand where we lived in England, right?
Yeah.
We weren't in London where it was a multicultural
Yeah.
area. We're a tiny village. I think we were one of only
Three immigrant families. Funnily, this is hilarious as well. Typical, stereotypical. This 2 families of Indian descent. We owned a shop. They owned a shop, and a Chinese family that owned a Chinese takeaway. So that didn't help. But yeah, there was only 3 immigrant. 4. Sorry, there was 4. The chip shop.
Yeah.
The chip shop owners. So there was 4 immigrant families in the entire village. And so, yeah, it was, so we didn't see ourselves different from them, but they made it
Clear.
Yeah, you are different. You are very different from us.
My question is, you have children of your own now, and you have children as well, Roy. After seeing what we've seen, seeing our parents go through it, I talked about this with my friends as well. The way the children are being raised now, the attention to detail and with social media awareness is very unique and different. But all of that wasn't there. As you said, keep going. It's okay. Keep your head down. And the advice that I would get when I was young was just don't talk to them, ignore them, and walk away. It's just avoidant, avoid. Don't face the problem head on. But I can't imagine what you must have been going through. So what is that mindset, or what is that state at that point in time? Like, did you ever fight back?
A few times. There will be some playground incidents, for sure. Luckily, the teachers I had at the time, 1 or 2, were on my side. But there were times where I can look back and think, hang on, that didn't make any sense. Why did that teacher do this or not say this or say that? It was very, very hard in terms of like how you start to feel. You start to not feel good, not feel.
Was your school affected? Was your studies affected? Were you distant? Were you avoidant? Did you not talk? Were you did you hide things from your parents? Kind of
all of the above. All of the above. Typical stuff that you hear. Typical stuff. But what was I don't know what it was. Again, it's all about that spark. About something in me was like, keep going, you will be better than them one day. So, I think for me, I think that's been a big driver. Along with obviously, what parents did, grandma, that side of it. But that's been, for me personally, it's been a big, big driver.
Roy, would you say Amit faced it more than you faced it?
Or? 100%. 100%. Yeah. I don't know I'm better at compartmentalizing. I never face any like physical stuff, but people would say stuff all the time, but that stuff just bounces off me, and I don't know if just different personality, but I was never affected by it. Is my answer.
Do you still think about it?
It drives me.
Yeah,
it drives me for some weird reason.
When you're in a difficult position or something is happening, you just think back.
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
So Messi. There's a story about a training ground incident where something happened, and he wasn't performing at his peak level in training, and he's facing some of the best players on the planet at that point in time, the Barcelona team, and something triggered him and he got really mad and he just destroyed everybody on that training pitch. That for some reason is the same for me. When I get angry, that's it.
Yeah,
there's no stopping me.
Let me beat you with my work.
Yeah.
I love that. And Roy, is there we all talk about mindset and we talk about headspace. you're very analytical and you listen to a lot of podcasts, and you have anytime you and I have a conversation, even the questions you ask and things and I always enjoy talking to both of you because how deep your questions are and how you ask questions in a very unique way. Who are some people that you're influenced by in the real estate industry or outside of the real estate industry that inspire you, that motivate you? I'll start with you, Roy, and then Amit, I'll come to you. That have a significant, profound effect other than your parents from a business or motivational standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned I'm a podcast fiend. I listen to podcasts at 2x speed to get through as many as I can. One of my favorite podcasts is by a guy called Guy Raz. He's got a podcast called How I Built This, and he interviews billionaire CEOs or CEOs of companies that built their company from the ground up. And you learn so much from those interviews and how there's so many similarities between these growth stories. There's always some kind of driving ambition, like they have to do something. There's always typically people who are telling you that you're doing something wrong. You go the safe route, go get a job. They have to break through that. There's always challenges. There's always but there's a drive that they believe that what they're doing is the right thing. So I think that's an amazing podcast, and anybody in business, I think, should add that to the list. In the real estate industry, like we're so fortunate because the people that we interact with on a day-to-day basis, they are the other platinum guys.
They're the elite,
and we learn so much from them every single day, and we're so fortunate to be in that circle. I can name drop so many guys, but like we learn not just how to run the business better, but just how to be better. There's so many names. I don't want to leave anybody out, but we're in a really, really fortunate circle there for sure. I mean, we see some of these guys who are running multiple businesses now and doing it, and not just being successful at one, but being successful at 2, at 3, and 4. And how are these guys doing this with the same amount of hours that we all have? Yeah. And you learn about how efficient they are, how they do all these processes, and how smart they are. Right. These are the kinds of guys that I'm like, yeah, this
something to learn from.
Yeah.
How about you, Amit?
Oof. So I listen to a lot of podcasts as well. Not lately because we've been so busy with TalkCondo Pro, but one of my favorite books and people to listen to is Peter Thiel. One of my favorite books of all time is From Zero to One.
Yeah.
I think that's a phenomenal book, and I think that's a book that, just like the podcasts, if you're in business or planning on getting into business or planning to get into real estate, any sort of business, listen to that book or read that book. The PayPal Mafia, Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Alex Karp, those guys, they're phenomenal. They're phenomenal. I look up to those guys.
If you were, Amit, to tell your younger self something, knowing what you know now, what would you say?
Oh, wow. Keep going. That's the biggest one. Don't give up. Be humble. Keep learning.
I love that. Yeah. And how about you, Roy?
Trust your gut. So many times, like I look back and people tell me you're doing the wrong thing here, you're doing the wrong thing there, but we always back ourselves. So I think for me that's a big one.
If you could advise an agent that is aspiring, and whatever you have learned or from the community of leaders that we have in the real estate industry, what's one piece of advice that you would like to share with an agent that's listening to this about being a top platinum agent or being a real estate agent in general? What would you say? What's your guiding advice to them?
For me, this one's actually an easy one. Okay. I advise every single real estate to find your niche as soon as humanly possible. Whether that's selling pre-construction condos, whether it's selling luxury homes, whether it's this geographic farm, whatever that niche is, find that niche. The longer you are a service or real estate agent, and too many people are still service or real estate agents, but the longer you are that, it's never going to be you can never be as successful as you can be if you find that niche and you really just focus on that one thing and become the absolute best at that thing. The quicker you can do that, I think then that's the one piece of advice I'd give any real estate agent.
How about you, Amit?
I agree. The other piece of advice I would give is play the long game. You are building a business. You are not. This isn't a get-rich-quick scheme. Unfortunately, that's something that's perpetuated way too often in our space. Whether that's social media doing it or not, I don't know. But play the long game. You are building a business. Stay focused. Niche.
I love that. I like to finish off this podcast and with a very important question. And I'm going to ask each one of you independently, and I'll start with you, Roy, first. Who is Roy Bhandari?
A wannabe golfer. Look, I think family is really important to me. I'm a family man first. The business allows me to do what I want to do with my family. The person I think that answered this question the best on your podcast, and I've listened to all of your podcasts, I think you do a great job. I think when Jason Lamb answered it, I really, like what he said really spoke to me. And what he said was, when I'm with my friends, I'm not anything special. I'm just Jason Lamb. I like to have a few beers. I like to play golf. I like to barbecue. I like to hang out with family. And that's all it is. And I don't want to be remembered for my work. I want to be remembered for who Roy is. You know, hopefully I'm decent to hang out with from time to time. But yeah, you know, I like playing golf. I like hanging out with my friends. I like watching movies. You know, I'm not anything special outside of what I do. I just want to be just a good hang.
I like that. And how about you, Amit?
No, man.
Who is Amit Bhandari?
You'd think that you know, it would be a cheating because he had to answer first, but this is tough. I'm just gonna say the best dad ever, best son ever,
Second.
best uncle ever. Yep, that's what I want to be known as.
I love that. Look, it's been an absolute pleasure, gents, and
Thank you.
You know, having the pleasure of knowing you for a while now, and you know, us sitting down this intimately to have this discussion. So thank you for being on More Than a Sale. I think this is a special episode for everyone that's listening, because not only do they get a chance to hear about your journey and your story, and to learn about TalkCondo, because I think everyone has made a stride in our pre-construction industry. And if it wasn't for TalkCondo, a lot of other innovations wouldn't have happened. And we all learn and we pick from one another at any retrospect, and we all get a chance to drive things forward. And when you and I sat down, we had that same conversation as well. So for anyone listening and watching, check out TalkCondo. And of course, now that the pro version is available as well, a lot of great data points to pull from. I'm a subscriber myself, which, you know, we find great benefit of utilizing the data. So that's there. Thank you again. Thank you for joining us on More Than a Sale. Stay tuned for the next episode.